In this movie, we will review questions 1 through 5 from the exam practice tests found within your work files. I highly suggest having first listened to all the movies preceding this one and attempting to answer the questions first before listening to the review. Let's go ahead and get started. Here's our first question. The following are characteristics of a project except a temporary endeavor, meant to sustain the business, performed by people, is planned, executed, and controlled. Notice a key word in the question, which is except. Sometimes we have a habit of scanning a question and missing keywords like this one. If you were able to recall the definition of a project, then you would have recognized that A is true. The definition of a project as defined by the Pmbok guide is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. What the question is testing is whether you recognize the difference between a project and operational work. The definition of operational work is work that is ongoing, repetitive, and meant to sustain a business. Therefore, we can recognize that answer B refers to operational work. The other two options are meant to throw you off because both the project and operational work share the characteristics of C and D. Question 2 reads, during the initial scope planning meeting, the project sponsor has stated that the project would be developed in increments as testing results are made available. This is an example of progressive elaboration, scope creep, operational work, milestone. Let's run through the definitions of the four options. Progressive elaboration means to develop in increments as the project moves forward. Scope creep is when additional unplanned scope gets added to the project as the project moves forward. We just reviewed operational work, which refers to work that is ongoing and repetitive, meant to sustain the business. And a milestone is a significant event or point in the project. Based on the definitions, the answer is progressive elaboration. You may have confused progressive elaboration and scope creep. Scope creep is unplanned, whereas progressive elaboration is something that is planned and done for a specific reason. In this case, the project is being progressively elaborated due to testing results, which as they come to light will signal the course of the project. Question 3 was a fairly easy one, although don't worry if you didn't get it right the first round. It is simply asking you to identify what makes up the triple constraint. Scope, cost, risk, time, cost, and quality, contract, time, and cost, and scope, time, and cost. The answer is D, scope, time, and cost. When any of these are changed or affected, the other two are almost always affected as well, and this is why it is referred to as the triple constraint. For example, a change to scope will likely impact the schedule and budget. A change in budget will alter the time and scope, and so on. Question 4 is testing your knowledge of what is involved in project management. Once again, we see that keyword except in the question, which reads, managing a project involves all of the following except meeting stakeholder expectations, managing competing priorities, identifying the requirements and establishing clear objectives, and supporting the product after completion. A, B, and C are all part of project management. D, on the other hand, is referring to work that occurs after the project is complete and involving ongoing activity. Therefore, D is outside of the project management realm and is the correct answer. Moving on to our final question for review. You are currently assigned to work on a project involving the release of a new pharmaceutical drug. The VP of Strategic Partnerships, who to date has not been a part of the project, asks to see the work performance information. This raises a red flag for the following reason. The VP of Strategic Partnerships is not a part of the project and should therefore not have access to the report. The VP may have heard of existing performance issues and is looking into it. All stakeholders have not been identified. There are no red flags. Well, A is incorrect because the executive team are stakeholders and should therefore have access to the project status and reports. While B may be true, You as a project manager should be well informed of all existing performance, so this should not be a concern. If poor performance was discovered, it would be addressed within the project management processes. C is actually the correct answer, because clearly all stakeholders have not been identified, and this marks a huge concern. If all stakeholders have not been identified, this means that all expectations, needs, and requirements have not been documented and resolved, and this can create a major issue with the project. As we identified a moment ago, the VP of Strategic Partnership is a stakeholder within the company. And that concludes our review of the first 5 questions within your exam practice questions document.